Before the headlines, before the billions, there was a man who didn't just break rules, he ignored them entirely. Peter Thiel wasn't loud like Musk or mainstream like Bezos. He was the contrarian mind behind PayPal, the early believer in Facebook, and the secretive force behind Palantir. This is not just about money. It's about power, prediction, and a philosophy few dare to follow. In Stanford's echoing halls, Thiel didn't fit the mold. He studied law but questioned every structure it upheld. What others saw as systems to follow, he saw as frameworks to disrupt. At just 23, he launched the Stanford Review, a conservative libertarian paper. Not for fame, but to challenge groupthink, the first sign of his contrarian DNA. While Silicon Valley chased flashy ideas, Thiel made a quieter bet on financial freedom. In 1998, he co-founded Confinity, a startup few understood. The mission: move money with no borders, no banks, no permission. He wasn't building a product. He was launching a weapon against centralized control, a digital rebellion that would soon become PayPal. Success brought chaos. When Elon Musk joined through a merger, visions clashed hard. Musk pushed for Windows-based systems, Thiel wanted Unix. The conflict exploded during Musk's honeymoon. Thiel and the board executed a silent coup, removing him as CEO. It wasn't personal, it was strategic. To Thiel, ideas win, not egos. In 2002, PayPal went public, then quickly sold to eBay for $1.5 billion. Most saw it as an exit. Thiel saw it as leverage. He pocketed $55 million and didn't splurge. Instead, he set up Clarium Capital, not to follow Wall Street, but to bet against it. This wasn't luck. It was the first domino in a long, contrarian game. Clarium wasn't your average hedge fund. While Wall Street rode the housing bubble, Thiel quietly shorted the dollar. He believed the system was flawed, too leveraged, too blind. Analysts mocked him. But when the 2008 crash hit, Clarium soared, briefly. Thiel didn't flinch at volatility. To him, being early and alone was proof he was on the right path. While others chased social media, Thiel invested in something darker: intelligence. He co-founded Palantir in 2003, a data analytics company designed to detect threats before they happen. It wasn't flashy. It was built in silence, with clients like the CIA and Pentagon. To Thiel, control over information was the ultimate power, not for the public, but for those who could shape the future. In 2004, Thiel made a $500,000 bet on a dorm room project no VC wanted. The site, Facebook. He didn't care about friends or likes. He saw a data engine, a way to map human behavior at scale. While others laughed at social networks, Thiel secured a 10% stake. It became one of the most profitable tech investments of all time. Why? Because he looked beneath the surface. With Facebook gains in hand, Thiel launched Founders Fund, a VC firm with one rule. We wanted to fund what others wouldn't. While the industry chased safer bets, Thiel backed SpaceX, Airbnb, Palantir again. Startups dismissed as crazy. But that's where he thrived, in the space between ridicule and revolution. For Thiel, consensus was danger, and conviction the rarest currency. In 2014, Thiel didn't just write a book, he issued a manifesto. 0 to 1 argued that true innovation isn't about competition. It's about monopoly, building what no one else dares to imagine. He called out fake progress, warned of herd thinking, and challenged startups to think vertically, not incrementally. To him, the future belonged not to the loud, but to those who created secrets worth protecting. In 2007, Gawker outed Thiel as gay without his consent. He said nothing, but behind the scenes he launched a secret, years-long legal assault. He funded Hulk Hogan's lawsuit not for headlines, but to bankrupt Gawker permanently. When the verdict came, $140 million in damages. Thiel never gloated. He simply proved that quiet power, can erase even the loudest voices. As the world turned digital, Palantir embedded deeper into its core. From counterterrorism to pandemic modeling, it became the quiet brain behind governments and corporations. Critics warned of surveillance. Thiel didn't flinch. To him, control of data wasn't a threat, it was destiny. By 2020, Palantir went public. But its true value wasn't market price. It was in knowing what others couldn't see. Thiel didn't just observe politics, he entered it like a strategist. In 2016, he backed Donald Trump, shocking Silicon Valley. While tech elites distanced themselves, Thiel stepped onto the RNC stage. He wasn't chasing votes. He was testing influence, funding candidates, shaping narratives. To Thiel, ideology was secondary, power was primary. In politics, just another system to be hacked. Thiel didn't just invest in crypto, he philosophized it. Bitcoin to him wasn't just digital money. It was a tool to resist the central banking machine. He backed startups like Block 1 and Layer 1. Not for hype, but to test sovereignty at the protocol level. Critics warned of speculation. Thiel lined in. To him, crypto was either the new frontier or the last fortress against state control. Thiel doesn't see founders as CEOs. He sees them as sovereigns, visionaries who bend reality, not manage it. In speeches, he warns, don't be the best at competition. Be the only one who does what you do. He calls startups secret cults of belief, where conviction outranks credentials. To Thiel, democracy can be debated, but monopoly earned through originality is sacred. While big tech chased headlines, Thiel built quietly. Palantir expanded into 40-plus countries, from defense to disaster relief. Not all deals were public. Some weren't even acknowledged. But that's how Thiel preferred it, influence without noise. To him, the loudest empires collapse first. The strongest are the ones you barely notice until it's too late. In 2011, Thiel made headlines again, not with code, but with a challenge. He offered $100,000 to students if they dropped out of college. To him, universities were factories, mass-producing conformity. He called it the Thiel Fellowship. Critics scoffed, but Thiel didn't care about tradition. He wanted rebels, not resumes. Because in his world, disruption doesn't come with a diploma. Thiel's ultimate investments weren't just in startups, but in exits from society itself. He funded SpaceX not just to reach Mars, but to hedge against Earth's collapse. He also backed seasteading, floating nations beyond regulation. To Thiel, true freedom meant exit from politics, from systems, even from gravity. Because in his worldview, if you can't change the game, leave the board entirely. For all his futuristic bets, Thiel never stopped watching the present. He warned of inflation before it hit, criticized central banks, and questioned democracy's durability. To him, every system moves in cycles: boom, stagnation, collapse. But while others panic in downturns, Thiel sharpens his strategy. Crisis isn't danger to him, it's signal. And in signals, he sees openings no one else is trained to find. Peter Thiel doesn't talk about legacy, he builds leverage. He funds longevity research, AI firms, defense tech. Not for headlines, but for continuity. In a world obsessed with short-term wins, he plays the longest game. His name may never trend, but his fingerprints, they're on your data, your elections, your money, your map. The question isn't where Thiel is now. It's how many steps ahead he already is. Beneath the data, the deals, and the disruption lies something more surprising: faith. Thiel, a devout Christian, sees history as a moral arc, not just a market. He funds classical education, religious thinkers, and philosophy programs, all while investing in the most advanced tech. To him, technology without ethics is empty. Because even for a contrarian, the future still needs a compass. Thiel rarely takes center stage, but his network spans across everything. From VCs to think tanks, biotech labs to election war rooms. His influence moves through people, not platforms. Founders, senators, generals, many owe him more than they admit. Because real power to Thiel isn't visibility. It's architecture, and his was built to be felt, not seen. While most prepare for retirement, Thiel funds the defeat of death. He invests in parabiosis, cellular reprogramming, cryonics. Not for science fiction, but for insurance. He's backed firms like Unity Biotechnology and Methuselah Foundation, hunting the code of aging like a market inefficiency. Because to Thiel, mortality is just another system. And every system has a flaw. You just have to be cold enough to look for it. Thiel's investments aren't just in biotech or crypto. They now extend to consciousness and control of the self. He's exploring neural tech, brain-machine interfaces, and mind uploading. Not to escape reality, but to master it. Because for Thiel, the mind isn't sacred, it's software. And if it can be mapped, then it can be optimized. And maybe someday it can be copied. Thiel isn't chasing immortality to stay alive. He's chasing it to see what comes after. He funds research into altered states, simulation theory, and philosophical AI. Not to escape the world, but to confront its limits. To him, transcendence isn't spiritual, it's structural. A riddle of code, power, and consciousness, waiting to be solved by the coldest minds alive. Thiel gives few interviews. He doesn't tweet. He doesn't chase cameras. Because for him, silence isn't absence, it's strategy. In a world addicted to attention, he trades in information no one else even sees. Every word withheld is a move not yet revealed. And every silence, a signal only the observant can decode. Thiel doesn't just prepare for the future. He positions for collapse. From economic bubbles to political unraveling, he sees fragility where others see progress. His investments, alliances, and exits are shaped by one belief. The old world is already dying. And when it does, he won't rebuild it. He'll replace it, piece by engineered piece. If you're looking for parades, you won't find them here. Thiel's new world won't arrive with slogans or revolutions. It'll come silently through code, contracts, capital. Not with crowds, but with control. Because real change isn't built in public. It's architected in silence, funded by conviction, and launched while the world is asleep. By the time most notice, it's already running. What if Thiel isn't just a billionaire, but a blueprint? What if paranoia, silence, and strategy aren't flaws, but survival traits? We mock the quiet ones until the system breaks. Then we ask, who saw it coming? Maybe it's not about liking him. Maybe it's about realizing he was never playing the same game. And the real question now is, are you? Peter Thiel's story isn't over. Because it was never just his. His fingerprints are on tomorrow's leaders, systems, currencies, wars. He's not building a brand. He's rewriting rules, quietly training the next players. If this was a glimpse into his mind, then the next chapter is already being written. The next founder waits in the shadows, and their story might make Thiel look predictable. You've just seen inside the mind of a man who bets against the world and often wins. But this is just one story. There are more outliers, rebels, and strategist founders rewriting the system as we speak. Want to know how they think, how they move? Hit subscribe, because we don't just tell founder stories. We decode the blueprint of bold minds before they reshape yours.